much. Today's speaker is Dave Stroeve. He is an empowerment speaker and owner of ADS Consulting Services. You're going to want to take notes, so grab pen and paper because this guy's really dynamic. You're going to have a lot of aha moments. So, David, tell us a little bit about your history and how you got into all of this in the first place.
I think like most people, you don't ever plan on walking into timeshare. It's something that happens. And I was living on Maui. And by chance, I got into the business, found success. And then after that, I ended up moving to Breckenridge, Colorado, and spent the last 20 years up there. Ended up being president of sales for the company. It was a very small boutique development company at the time. Today, it's very well known, called Breckenridge Grand Vacations. And things shifted, things changed, and that's just part of life. And decided to start a new chapter, and that's when I opened up ADS Consulting to provide insight and guidance and help and support. It's all about performance management. And so I help companies try and redefine their practices and their procedures to really, tweak those dials just a little bit to get better performance, higher efficiencies, and bottom line profitability. So it's been a great journey. And so I've been in the business for well over 30 years now. Long time. I wanted my information to be relevant today. There's been a lot of change, and with change, we need to pivot. We need to innovate. And so I thought of 5 different segments that I just think would be beneficial for people to think about, to just get those thoughts going, to brainstorm through what's happening, so that, as the cheese moves, we got to move to find out where it is, and that cheese is profitability. So the first thing I want to talk about is how to adjust the product benefits that you have, because perhaps you need to as well take a look at new market segments. Clearly, if you're in a destination that's flight to and COVID's really had an impact, this is something to consider. The next thing, if you do have at least traffic going to your projects, well, how do you increase the conversion to get them to take more tours? Going to hit on that. Going to talk about how to improve your digital advertising. Today, that's the cutting edge. That's the forefront of how to really attract and to identify your target audience. And the fourth thing is, what do you need to think about when it comes to just your overall consumer experience? Fear is on the top of people's mind. How can you diminish that? How can you alleviate that safety and security within your operation? And then finally, everything is about testing. I was thinking about a new title for a blog, which is management through measurement, because that's the bottom line is how to really know if you're hitting the mark. So, but let's talk about the first one, which is how to adjust, your product benefits. And so I'm going to talk about some things that, if you're in active sales, you're probably doing many of these things. However, if you're a legacy, then there's a lot of other items that you could do yourself. But the first thing is think of local attractions, because if your fly to destination is really getting impacted, well, then can you shorten that radius? And if you shorten that radius, what do these people look like? What are their interests? And can I adjust my product mix to be able to attract them to give better value, so you expand your value proposition? So I've got some things here on my slide. If you are a legacy-based property, then, dual affiliation. You've also got San Francisco Exchange. You got Trading Places. You got point overlays. That's a huge one. Legacy properties are having a big challenge. I think part of it is the product has moved so far, or the travel behaviors move way beyond what the product is doing. So you got to build in flexibility. You got to build in, a couple night travel at a time. I think that's a huge one. You can also look at ICE, and then they just bought Save On. Save On is a great add-on benefit, especially when it comes to getting discounted lodging stays. And then you also have access development. Access development, if you're looking at then shrinking that radius, I think they do very well in that space to provide discounts to restaurants, local attractions. So look them up. They've been around, 30 plus years, I believe. I don't overstate it, but maybe 30 plus years. So, but things to really think about. Flexibility really is kind of the main message here. And, I've got this quote here that says business has only two functions: marketing and innovation. We all know it starts with marketing. To me, sales is fairly simple if you get the right pieces in place on the front end and you can bring the clients in the door. Then sales is just a procedural setup. But it starts with marketing, and marketing is always about innovating and looking at what new things, what new ideas can you test. The second one I want to talk about is how do you increase your arrival conversion? And I want to hit on this because, there's two ways that I've seen people do it. The simplest way is they throw out money, and with that, they keep stacking more money on top of it. However, money is not hitting an emotional need. What truly hits an emotional need is information. See, information is power because it allows people to, if they learn new information, they can do better things with it. And so people that have vested interest in your product or service, well, then they want to maximize the usability of it. They want to be in the know. They want to understand what's new and different. So look at, what changes have you guys done over the course of time, in recent time right now? What improvements or enhancements have you added to your company? And what you want to do is you want to use this information to leverage and hit the intrinsic emotional need, which is a hope for gain. And see, hope for gain, hope is one of the most powerful emotions because we as human beings, we always hope that the future is going to be better than the present. We hope that we're going to be able to receive more value and benefits and flexibility from whatever we have our money invested in. So are you using this in conjunction with a monetary value to increase the conversion? Because if you are, I guarantee you, your points will go up because people want to improve what they have, and they for sure want to maximize the benefits and value that they can receive from it. Now, there's a pitfall, though. And so I want to cover this pitfall because if your marketing team on the front end is talking about, okay, one of the benefits of going on an update member or owner presentation is that you're going to really learn about what's new and different, and we're here to help educate you. And by the way, there's a direct correlation between happy owners and their lifetime value of what they're willing to spend. Happy owners spend more money, and happy owners are those that are better informed. So if your marketing team is talking about, hey, we're going to provide the information that's new and different to help you get the most out of your membership, okay, great. Now they walk into the sales operation. We all know that salespeople have a one-track mind, and they're only thinking about, man, I'm just going to make a deal. And so all they talk about is, well, what you own and what you can leverage up to. And they really don't answer any questions. They don't provide any any insight on the changes that have been taking place. And when that happens, you totally erode your brand credibility and you erode your integrity. And so you have to have a process that you can guarantee to some degree that they're going to walk in, regardless of the outcome, regardless of whether or not they're going to spend more money. For some of you, that might be hard to hear, but I guarantee you, if you provide the service up front, they will spend more money. That if you put in place, and people have done either questionnaires today with technology, you can email them, short questions that they might have about, how things have been going with it. But as well, one of the best ways to track this is to survey your buyers and your non-buyers. You got to survey them both. You can find out, is the company delivering on the expectation that we are helping you learn more about what you have to maximize the usability of it. So if you do that, you will increase your member or owner conversion, however you look at that designation. And I've just got a quote here. I kind of love this one. This by Jim Rohn. Don't ask how it can be easier. Ask how you can be better. We always got to keep striving to be better and deliver more value. It's all about value. If you deliver more value, they will come. So the next thing I want to talk about real quick is the digital advertising space. And hey, this is changing. It has changed the way that businesses have to think. And there's a really good Netflix movie that's currently out. It's called The Digital Dilemma. I find it fascinating how this technology is being used today. But what you want to do with digital advertising is you want to really target your audience, because by doing so, it really can make or break your business. And what you want to know is you want to know the nuances of who is engaging with your brand. Because by doing that, it's going to create higher conversions of your digital marketing dollars. And there are different targeting strategies for different goals. And that's one of the things. Know what you're trying to do. Are you trying to have someone share your content, like your content, take an action step to click on a landing page, fill out a survey, or outright purchase an offering that you have? So have an objective, have a goal in mind. And, social media has made it so easy, and it's easier than ever before to listen to consumer feedback in real time. And that's the main thing is, so by using part of your marketing budget and specialize it, designed to identify your dominant market, your dominant target market, you then can increase your advertising dollars with precision, which then of course makes it more efficient. And then on the back end, when you're tracking it, hopefully that you're having that higher gross conversion of lead to booking. So you want to get specific with it. So let's kind of get into that. So when we're talking about getting specific with it, I got 6 questions here that I want to go through that I want you to think about. And so to reach the right people, you need to have first, you got to start with a picture of what they look like in your mind. And begin by writing down all the information that you know about your product or service. Think about whom is your product most useful and accessible to. And once you've compiled this list, once you've really thought about, who does our audience look like, then you can ask yourself these 6 questions. Because what you're really trying to dive into is getting into the demographics of who they are. Are they between 35 and 55? Are they college students? Are they married? What radius do they live in? Those are the type of things that now you want to drill down, and you just want to iterate and iterate and iterate and test your advertising platform. And I'm going to talk about how to go into testing that. So first, identify the individual themselves. Then the next question to ask is, what is the desired marketing goal? And I talked about this, but what action do you want your audience to take? Are you just trying to increase the awareness or buy your product? Do you want them to register for an email list? Get traffic to a blog or a post, opt in to be contacted? Or do you really have an entirely different objective behind it, but know what you're trying to achieve before you go and you spend the dollars? The third is, where is your audience located? Now, this one for many fly to, I think it's going to take, this is where you really start testing to see who's resonating with where your resort is sitting, or if you're in a bundle of resorts, you can test a lot of different areas, states, countries, zip codes, towns. I mean, you can do a lot of different testing to find out where your audience is located. The fourth one is, what interests do they have? What do they like to buy? What activities do they do? What movies do they like? What cuisine do they eat? What stores do they shop in? What cars do they drive? What type of events do they go to? What are their values, and what kind of hobbies do they have? This is the information you really want to drill into, breaking down and just narrowing down what your audience might look like. You have such a powerful, powerful tool now with social media advertising to be able to do all this. The next question then is, what are some of the additional lifestyle information that you know about them? Like, what's their occupation? How many kids do they have? What level of education? Annual income. I know that the whole industry is driven by income qualification. But what needs do they have as well? And do that brainstorming session to be able to really throw all this out. And then you can start iterating your testing live, and you can do it with precision. And I'm going to get into how to do that in just a moment here. And then the sixth question is, hey, look at who your competitors are. And what does their audience look like? Can you really drill in to identify who they are? I love stealing other people's great information. So, capture what information you can from others. So with that said, so once you've asked those questions, then you got to test like a mad scientist. And I want to talk about what you do then. So when it comes to social advertising, there's really only three parts to it. You got your campaign, you got your ad set, and you got your message, but you got these three moving parts. You've got the visual aid that you're using, whether you're doing carousel, whether you're doing still images, whether you're doing video. You got the visual, you've got your messaging, and then you have your audience. And so there's a normal rule of thumb with this. So the rule of thumb is to have 4 visual assets, have 5 different messages, and have an audience of 30. And that'll give you close to like a 600 bracket of iterations to throw out and test to see how they are working. But when you do this, here's the thing, is that you can only adjust one of these variables at a time. That is it. Because if you don't, then you don't know which one of those variables was the one that triggered whatever your goal was, that you got a better click-through rate, you got a lower lead cost, whatever your objective is, more surveys filled out, you wouldn't know which one of those variables did it. So once you have your ad sets, then that is when you only adjust one of these variables at a time, and then test. And when you're testing, I was dealing with a client who he wanted to take the same ad set and campaign and double the spend. I said, absolutely. And he did that before I communicated with him, and his lead costs doubled. Instead of doing that, you would take the increase in the ad spend, and you would double the number of ads you're going to throw out and test. And so that's really where you want to start doing it. You just don't stack on more money to a working ad. Working ads have a very short shelf life anyway. And there's also a rule of thumb that once you throw out an ad, let it sit for 4 days to let the algorithms within Facebook, maybe day one, it doesn't work. Day two, day three, it really picks up. So you're not really getting good information unless you have that ad sit for 4 days. And I just got a quote here at the bottom. I'll pass through that, but really talks about just the need to innovate consistently. Because if we're not innovating, then we will be expiring. And there's a new study. Anybody can look this up, but in the Fortune 500 companies, the speed of rotation on them is now that 40% of the Fortune 500 companies rotate in an average of 13 years, where it used to take 35 years for that rotation to take place. The next thing I want to talk about real quick is to think about your guest experience. And I was recently at a property, and they did a really good job with this, because what everybody is worried about right now is the fear of COVID and safety and security for themselves, their children, their family. I mean, that's just paramount, and it's top of mind awareness, what's going on. Plus, you can use what you incorporate in your operations in your marketing campaigns to give people the assurance that coming to your destination, they're going to have an amazing experience, because the company is service centric, and it's safety centric and focused on your overall experience. And I just came up with an acronym here. I just threw this out. I mean, you can make up whatever. I've seen one that said clean, and each one of those had its own definition. You want it to be sticky, though. You want things to be sticky, because if you create information but nobody's like communicating that information and talking about it, and it's part of their normal communication that they have with the guest, then it's not going to really stay. So with this one, this is just that we sustain the highest federal, state, and local standards to protect every guest. That we have a set. Did I spell this wrong? We have set to standards to achieve. Yeah, that was not done right. New cleaning and safety protocols. F, our entire organization is focused on our safety standards, so that you have the freedom to always have an incredible experience. And E is to have it enjoyable. We understand during these times that we all must be part of the solution, so that everybody can have the best enjoyable vacation experience possible. However you brand this, brand it so that it becomes part of your lexicon within your communication. And the last one I have here is all about testing. I see this too often, to where people come up with a great idea. Let's take digital advertising, and they want to increase ad spend. But at the end of the day, they never looked at one of the key data matrix that they wanted to track. They're looking at their pay-per-click. They're looking at their impressions. They're looking at their cost per lead. But those are all great. But what if the conversion on the bucket of leads drops from, let's say, 5% to 3%? Well, then the cost just went through the roof on that campaign. So really know the information that you're gonna track before you go out and spend $1. I've always believed in any marketing effort, before you go spend $1 on any marketing campaign, first have the goal, know what you're trying to achieve, and then know what your KPIs are, your key performance indicators. that you're measuring to, so that you can truly adjust these dials just slightly to be able to improve your overall efficiency, and all that translates into bottom line profitability. Reverse engineer budget sometimes. If you want to say that, hey, we need X number of tours, you could reverse engineer it with social media saying, okay, to do that, I got to have a certain show rate that comes in. From that show rate, I got to have a gross conversion on the ads, however you're measuring that conversion on your leads. Then you got to know what your cost per leads are. From that, you got to understand what your cost per click is. I mean, all this, when you reverse engineer, then you can really start looking at how each component of your ad spend is performing. So those are the five topics that I just want to share with the audience today, and leave you with this quote: is the first step towards success is taken when you refuse to be captive of the environment in which you find yourself in. We are all in a different environment today than 9 months ago. But hey, look, with that said, we have to innovate. We have to iterate. We have to continue to adjust to different times. That is how you achieve long-term success.
Well, thank you very much, Dave. This has been brilliant. I've taken a lot of notes myself. So enjoy the rest of your day. Have a great weekend. And thank you again.
And I appreciate the invite. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you.